All right. Welcome to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. My guest this week is musician Stella Rose. She's also a poet. Her new album is Eyes of Glass. Stella, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So you're in New York?
Yep, I'm in New York.
Been pretty bad there this week, huh?
Yeah, today the sky's blue again, but the other day it was orange.
Yeah.
But we're good now, I think.
Good. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't a repeated pattern that now we have to live with, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
It's a weird time. It's a weird time. Well, let me get into it with just by asking, you've been writing for years, obviously. What made you decide to step into music?
What made me excited to step into music? I mean, I've always sang since I was a kid. I think I didn't know maybe that I wanted it to be my life mission sort of career, but I mean, I think the exciting thing about music is that there are kind of no rules, and the only rule to follow is to follow what your instincts are with it. So I think the self creativity with that kind of thing is cool. Yeah, but I mean, I've always listened to music. It's always been a way for me to cope with certain things or dissociate if I want to, or change the environment that I'm in. So yeah, I think that's what was kind of alluring to me.
Okay. And I did read that you kind of sang to yourself for a long time before, getting to the point of actually
Yeah.
doing this. What was the actual impetus for, going into the recording studio with Eves Rothman as your producer, correct?
What was the
What was the thing that catapulted you to actually finally begin recording?
Yeah, I think what ended up happening is during COVID, I kind of got really serious about wanting this to be something that I took professionally more seriously in my life. And just because, I mean, like other people, I had a lot of time on my hands. So I think I just got into waking up every morning, playing guitar, seeing what it was like to attempt to write a song every day or just be creative every day. And so I ended up with a lot of material. And I think from there, I sort of sat my parents down and was like, I want to do this. What do I do and where do I go or what do I need to do? And they sort of just said, make as much songs as possible and then we can see who might be interested. And then through friends, I got introduced to Eve Rothman and I sent him my weird little demos that I made in my room and like not professionally done at all. And he heard something in it. And I think that's sort of the lucky part of this business is that you meet people that are like-minded to you, and it doesn't always happen in the way that you think, but that was like a lucky thing that happened. And then from then on, we just did a first session and went from there. And I think the songs evolved once I met Eve. I mean, they definitely sound different from the demos. The lyrics might be in the same world, but we really created Eyes of Glass together. And he helped me understand what kind of artist I wanted to be, and like nurtured me in the way of bringing all these like beautiful, amazing musicians so that we could experiment, which was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the album is really interesting. It's I find it harder as I get older to get attached to new music. So it's usually through things like this where somebody somebody from a PR firm like says, "Hey, check this out." And obviously, your name sort of gave me more of a reason because your dad's music. And I'm not going to belabor this, but if some people know, her father is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and it's a band I treasure deeply. So that was kind of like the reason for me to get interested in your music. And for us old timers, I guess we need anything we could get to get into new music. So I'm glad to know it, but it's such a kind of a really it's got these cool elements. It's got this kind of aggressive elements. There's a lot of you on display, it seems. And I think you said something interesting where you said, you know, Eve kind of pulled this, you know, a little bit out of you. Are
A
these
lot,
sides
yeah.
of yourself that you didn't know before?
I think because of the time that we were recording, I was going through a lot at the time, and each session kind of was a different part of my personality. We started off sort of with a lot of gratitude, and songs like Angel came out of that, and feeling really excited about the world and things like that. And then I think by the second session, which was, they were both in LA, but each time I'd go back to New York, a little more shit would happen, whatever, and then I'd go back and sort of just like purge it out into these songs. So I think by the second session, there were some things that I had some grudges about and was pissed off about. So then we got songs like Faithful or whatever. So it really, that's why it turned into a record, I think, because even though most people probably would do an EP first and release a couple singles and sort of test the waters, there was a whole story that we were telling, and that I needed the full picture. So, I mean, I think I knew these sides of myself, and I think I wanted to honor that as like humans, we have different experiences and different reactions to things. So I didn't want it to be this one, either really beautiful, sort of like, I don't know, nice girl thing, and then
Like
the
an
other side is,
ethereal kind of beauty.
yeah, like we're like it's this fairyland like girl or whatever. I really didn't want to be pinpointed in one genre or one like
Right.
archetype of like who I am as an artist. So
Yeah.
I thought the best way to show myself to the world was through a record that's like pretty well rounded with different sides of Stella Rose. So
Right.
yeah, I was happy that we were able to do that. I think the first two singles that came out, Muddled Man and Angel, I think were a good example of that because they were so different. So it kind of, the first single was Muddled Man, so people probably expected a lot of things out of that or thought it would just go in that direction. So it was kind of fun to just throw that out the window and then bring something like Angel, which is the total opposite. So yeah, it's nice to have a full story and something to listen to all the way through, I think, because especially now, like I don't know many people that listen to full records. Not saying people are gonna fully listen to mine, I hope they do, but it's just not really the reality of how people listen to music now. So I think it was nice as a new artist to sort of come in with this full piece just to try to be like authentic to myself and show the full picture and not just sort of like these little sound snippets of something that I'm still trying to figure out, because I knew where I was coming from, and I knew what I wanted to say. So it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah. Was it at all difficult to pull that stuff out of yourself?
I don't think so.
No?
I'm pretty like open book kind of gal. Especially since there was things happening in my life while I was writing and while we were recording. And it was right after COVID, so I think I was just like ready to like lay everything out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, it's, you know, the thing is like you really have to tap into that creative energy at you know, any every point when you're somebody that does anything, I guess, creative. So, you know, I mean, you know, it's just that it's, but the hopeful thing is that there's not always something dramatic to set you off on that path, that you just can write a song about something or something you think of, or it's not all about, you know, the clashes or the problems that arise in normal life, hopefully, because that tends to drain people, I think, after a
Yeah.
while. So because you end up getting
Doesn't
into
have
some
to
sort of
all be
cycle.
torture.
You're right, right. And there's only
Yeah.
so long you could be tortured without it being like, okay, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm experiencing that now with I'm starting to write some new stuff and I feel pretty good in my life right now. So I think that can be a challenge sometimes because it can be harder to write about things that aren't so obviously traumatic. So that's been interesting, but I think it's cool. I mean, if you can, I think like Angel definitely shows that it's a song that felt really beautiful to write, but also taps into confusion and coming of age and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's good to have balance. I think it's not all one thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's obvious. Yeah, that's cool. Are you planning on doing any shows at all behind it? I didn't see anything mentioned about touring of any kind.
Yeah, we're hoping to do a tour this coming year. My band and I have a couple shows in New York coming up, but I think we're just letting the album kind of do its thing. And I think if an opportunity comes, then we'll go for it. I think I'm not really in a rush to do every single thing that I can around this. I think I kind of trust the process. So if there's an opportunity to tour the album, I think that would be great. Yeah, I love performing. It brings a whole nother aspect to this whole thing just because I recorded with a different band when we did the record. And my band now, The Dead Language, I fucking love them. I mean, it like brings a whole nother side of the songs, which also is cool because it doesn't always have to be like you're playing to a track. You're exactly like the album.
Right.
You come to a show and maybe it has a different flavor that you didn't see before. And you might get some people that hate it and want you to play exactly like
Yeah,
the track,
yeah,
but I think it's kind of cool. And I think it keeps it kind of interesting for me and for my band to try different stuff. Like a song can sound different. And I guess the typical way that people do it is sort of like acoustic sets or doing a song kind of slower or stuff like that. But it's fun to play a song and it have like a heavy line and a guitar line in it. I mean, it's just like
yeah.
the energy that you get from other people is so cool to see.
Right, right. Well, it does. I mean, it doesn't sound like you have reticence to performing, but uh, you've obviously been experienced with how touring goes in your family's life.
Yeah.
Does any of that, obviously we're talking two different types of careers. You're starting out. Your father
Yeah.
has been established for a long time.
Yeah.
But there is something like huge about what he does. Is there any worry about the idea of burnout or anything like that? Does it just give you kind of pause to take everything a little slower for yourself?
Yeah. I think for sure my approach, I mean, I have a lot of support from my family and from friends and Eve and his label. And I think the whole approach with putting out this record and my approach to being a musician and an artist is that because I've been given the opportunity to see someone go through this and not necessarily in the easiest way, it's a different time, it's different industry, like we're different ages from when we were doing this.
Yeah.
I have a little bit more control over what I want to do and how I want it to look because of that. And I really feel like I'm not in a rush. Like I really, obviously, it's awesome if things come fast and you're doing a lot of things, but I really am someone that trusts the process. And that's what I've been taught as a kid, that if it's supposed to happen, it will. And it might happen in a way that you didn't expect. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any fears about burning out. I think that
Yeah.
I really love singing. Like I really love writing music and I really
Yeah.
love playing with my band and recording. So that's kind of my focus, is to just keep feeding that and not get consumed with the ego part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because that's not the point. Like, it's not why, if I wanted to do that, I would be a whole nother person. I mean, I'm not trying to, my songs are all like over 5 minutes, I feel like. So
Yeah.
we're definitely not trying to go that route. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think I have any fears about it. I definitely observe a lot though,
Yeah.
with just seeing my dad going on tour and how much of a toll it takes on you emotionally, being like taken out of your regular life and then being on this crazy schedule. So I guess my thought about it is just trying to stay like as grounded as possible and like focus on the thing that's important, which is the music.
Yeah. No, completely understandable.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up the way you kind of described it brings up an interesting idea, is that, the business has changed dramatically since your father's early days,
Yeah.
where labels said, album tour, keep doing it. And it wasn't until they got to a point where they were big enough, probably around, I guess, Violator or something, where even though they were pushed, they were still, that was their high water mark. Uh, you know, your father's band kind of had the juice or whatever to kind of ease back if they wanted to. But nowadays it's like everybody can kind of dictate how they want their careers to go in different ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, look at somebody like David Bowie. I mean, for God's sake, he was putting like 2 albums out a year at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
and working on other people's albums.
Yeah.
So it's kind of great that you're able to just kind of be in a place now in a time where you can take hold of your career and do things the way you want to, and focus your, how you want your image to be, and not focus on the things that some jerk studio exec,
Yeah.
record label executive wants you to look like, or sound like, or be like, or whatever. Do you find that, you kind of might have been born into the right era to make music?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's what I'm doing. So that's the only thing I know. I think there's certain aspects of how the industry used to work before that I think make more sense a little bit. I think now, because of social media, like, everyone thinks that they're an artist, and it's really easy to like make yourself look that way. And sort of the stuff that I guess I missed before is people's relationships with vinyl. I mean, I think the way people used to listen to music is a lot different, just because if your friend had that David Bowie record, you'd probably go to his house and be really excited about it and look and read the lyrics slipped in it, or
You had
read who's on the record. Like,
limited
no one knows
information at
that
the time.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you knew who was in the band and you could obsess about them for whatever reason, or then find other music through that. I mean, some people, I guess, real musos, like, probably still kind of do that, but it's not really the same. I mean, I just saw Control. Anton Corbijn did this movie
Yeah,
Control.
yeah.
I saw it at the Roxy, and
Oh, the
I never
screening he did.
yeah, I never seen it before,
It's
and I
an
loved
amazing
it.
movie.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But they kind of get into that a little bit in the beginning, where he has this like David Bowie record, and they're all really excited about it, and they go to the concert and they're all like really excited. And I don't know. I mean, like, I think people still are excited about music, but the what's the word?
The mystery isn't
The
as
mystery.
right.
Yeah. And also just like, it's very like delicate, and like, I don't know, the appreciation for it was different.
Yeah. No, for sure.
For the rarity.
Yeah.
Like, these artists, especially someone like David Bowie, they're so mysterious and like going on their own path, and the way that they're dressing and acting and
right.
whatever. Or like, even like, people would wait around and watch like Top of the Pops, and you'd see your favorite, like, MTV, like all these things. It's like just different the way that people find music now. I think it's probably, you can consume more music now.
That's
just 'cause
part of
it's
it.
easy to find stuff. So I don't know if that's good or bad,
No,
but
you're right about that. And there's also this thing where you're just slammed with content everywhere. You know, if
yeah,
you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the hell, you're constantly getting, and TikTok has got all these, dance moves to people's musics and music and all it. It's just there's so much stuff that's available to take your interest that it gets hard. The way things used to kind of be is that, like, you read Rolling Stone, or maybe you read a fanzine or something like that, and
yeah,
it filtered through. There was the record label, and then it filtered through to writers, and then it kind of, or DJs, what have you. And
yeah,
there was like somebody at the gate basically, filtering everything out, and now it's wide open,
yeah,
which makes it is cool because a lot of voices get heard, but it also makes it harder to find. Oddly enough, you have so many options, it gets hard to find people at the
yeah,
same time.
totally.
Yeah. What you said you've been writing? Do you have plans to go back into the studio anytime this year?
Yeah, I think probably at the end of summer we'll probably get back into the studio and start writing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, it's a good feeling when you start writing new things, just because I think that it seems like there's a fear after doing a record or putting something out that like you won't be able to get back into that headspace.
Right.
But I think I'm lucky that writing has always been like a big implemented thing in my everyday life, whether it's for a song or not. I think like my mom always did morning pages, and my dad writes and stuff like that, and my brother does is a filmmaker and writes stuff like that. So there's a lot of like writing to purge out whatever's going on in your life, and maybe you use that for material or maybe you don't.
Right.
So I think I have, it's a good outlet to have, even if you're not an artist, just to like kind of get stuff on paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love being in the studio. It was like one of the coolest things I've ever done.
That's great. Oh, that's great. What else do you do? I mean, besides, is there anything else that you do, besides music to kind of for creative creativity, I guess?
Yeah, I take photos. That used to be what I thought I was gonna do.
Mhm.
Was do photography and like short films and stuff. It's
Yeah.
kind of still on the back burner. Like I feel like making sort of like a Lynchian short film would be really cool. But I think that's shown a little bit in my video, like my music videos.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely attracted to narratives with music videos, even if it has nothing to do with the song, just kind of like giving something for you to watch that has a bit of a storyline and characters. But yeah, definitely photography. Um, Trying to think what else. I don't know. I mean, living in New York is like an amazing
Yeah.
place to be because there's stuff you can pull from all the time. And even when you forget and you're kind of like, oh, this place stinks, it's disgusting. Like, why do I live here?
Mhm.
Then something turns, and then you sort of like either see something that inspires you or you just see some weird, like, old New Yorker interacting with someone, and you're kind of like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of depends.
I've never been to New York, but there's still a lot of it that's historical, and there's still a lot of old stuff, and I have to imagine there are different parts of the city that really are quite magnificent to walk through. It's like probably walking through time.
Yeah,
Is there a particular neighborhood, I guess, that you genuinely have a affection for?
I mean, I grew up in meatpacking district, like West Village area, so I definitely am very attached to certain blocks in that area. But now I think, I mean, a lot of people my age flock towards like the Lower East Side. So I think that is where you can kind of just like feel like you see other people that look like you. It feels very like community oriented
Yeah.
and youthful. But I definitely always go back to the West Village for inspiration or just like to remember nostalgic things as a kid. I mean, I think that's where a lot of really great writing comes out of, is like trying to attach to your like inner child always, even when you're like older, I feel like.
Definitely.
Because that's like the most authentic you, because there's like no rules. You're just kind of like undeniably you. Like you're
Yeah.
just like flailing all over the place. So it's cool to still live in the same place that I grew up. But I mean, I love traveling too,
Yeah.
because you kind of feel like no one knows who you are and you can like slip into other places and see different things and get a new perspective.
That's pretty awesome. No, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Well, uh no, I really appreciate. No, that's cool. I like kind of just mixing it up a little bit and finding out what
Yeah.
kind of excites people. Well, Stella, I appreciate you taking the time today. The new album is Eyes of Glass. It's available now. Check it out wherever you get music from. Probably be a good idea to buy it, help a musician out. And I wish you luck with everything you're doing, and I look forward to hearing new music from you too.
Thanks so much. It was
All
nice
right.
talking to you.
Nice talking to you too. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.